and I'll welcome you all in. I'm Danny Rubin. Welcome to our last installment for the fall 2023 semester of the Rubin Dream Job webinar series. I'm Danny. I'm the founder of our company, Rubin, and we provide resources to CTE programs, often career and tech ed programs around the country, to promote business communication skills. One of the biggest things we do is we help students not write emails like they're sending a text message. Maybe you've seen a few of those, Carolyn, that cross your desk, even from college students who are not quite sure what an email should look like. And so we help students be professional, and we learn about those skills through the lens of different careers. In our webinar series, we have Carolyn Crutchfield here from Old Dominion University from the athletic department, and we will introduce her in just a few minutes and dive into the work she does. It's super interesting, super relevant, and I'm really excited to get into that and have students participate. Before we do, I will share my screen and offer some free resources, as we always do. Can I see any hands up from the participants? How many people are here for the first time? Any hands up, Zoom hands for the first time? So what we like to do is share resources for free to help students with communication. And today we're going to give out job interview resources, learning how to research a company you like before the interview, how to request an informational interview over email, smart questions to ask when you're in the room, how to answer any question with an example of a time you solved the problem, and how to write a great thank you note. It's all in a Google Drive for free, and we'd love for the teachers here who would like it to request it. All you need to do, we do this every time, is go to the chat, please. Go to the Zoom chat. Type the word interested and your email address. If this is for the teachers here. If you would like these resources, type interested and your email. We will send it over to you. And as we always say, if you are new to our community, we like to talk to you briefly. It would be tomorrow, Wednesday. Talk to you briefly about the resources so you can locate them and share them with your school. So if you're new to us, we'll send you a calendar invite. If you've been here before and you know what we're about, we'll send it over to you via email. And I'll mention that again at the end. But if you'd like these job interview resources, please request them now. And you can keep doing that in the chat, and I'll share the next couple of slides. Everybody here today will get a certificate for being here, showing you participated. So look for that on Wednesday as well. And finally, a sneak peek at the new year. As Carolyn, we started last year a contest called America's Next Great Intern. And we had students competing around the country on skills like writing an email, shaking a hand, speaking into the phone like you're a receptionist. And students submitted all their materials. And then we chose 15, 16 national finalists last year, put it to a public vote. We had over 10,000 votes.
Wow.
And the winner was a young lady in Northern Virginia in Prince William County last year. And we're bringing the contest back this year. So all the teachers here, listen up, because we're going to do an email reminder tomorrow. And then the registration will open January 8th. We do it the month of February, which is National Career and Tech Ed Month. So it's a lot of fun. We had almost 200 students compete last year, and it was just a big hit. So we're going to bring it back. So you now hear it from me first. Be aware this contest is rolling at you in the new year, and we'd love for you and your students to participate. It is free. So be aware, the intern contest is back for year number 2. All right. With that, let me turn off my share, bring Carolyn back in. And again, thank you for taking time out of your day to speak with us. I know your office is probably always in motion, always something to do, and I really appreciate this. So introduce yourself, share your title and your role, and then we'll get into the conversation.
Awesome. So my name is Carolyn Crutchfield. I'm an executive senior associate athletics director here at Old Dominion. I oversee a lot of sports, about 9 different sports, and through sport administration, in our external relations offices. So I wear a couple different hats. One is the external relations hat. So I oversee our marketing, our sports information office, which is our communications office, our graphic design, our video streaming and our ticketing. So that's one section of my job. There's another section I oversee 9 of our sports. So I oversee women's basketball, field hockey, volleyball, men's and women's swimming, lacrosse, and I do oversee our cheer and dance programs as well, and our men's and women's golf programs. So that's kind of a different hat. And then the third hat is I oversee our Title IX efforts here at Old Dominion and within athletics. So making sure that we're compliant with all national and federal laws regarding Title IX.
Okay. My first question is simple. How? How do you do all of those things? Like, just take me into one of those, like men's swimming.
Yeah.
How much do each of these roles require? Because you're one person and you named about 19 different tasks. So how?
But really, the sport administration is the most fun of my job. I get to go to practice. I get to interact with student athletes. So usually I try to go to a practice a month, making sure that like the student athletes know who I am. And I try to go to all their home events. So I'm at every women's basketball game, every volleyball game, every home event. And then if they do make postseason, I travel with them to the postseason conference championship and then any NCAA national postseason events that they have.
So you're busy in the evenings quite a bit, I would have
Yes.
to.
Yeah. Yeah. Lots of nights and weekends. And it's not extra pay, it's just part of the job.
Part of the job. As we talk, I want to start inviting the teachers and students who are here. Please go to the Q&A along the bottom row, start submitting your questions. And when you do, put your name and your school so we can give you credit and we'll share those questions with Carolyn. Okay, so you named so many different things going on. Let's start with like what maybe is it year in year out? Some of these sports have kind of a familiar rhythm. Like what's happening right now? What is impacting and changing your job, like over the last 6 to 12 months?
Yeah, it's definitely a rhythm. So, during the summer we're preparing for football, and all of our fall sports, but football is a really heavy lift. Our office, we oversee everything that happens at a football game that is not the actual sport. So anything that goes on the field during a timeout, any music, any videos, that kind of comes through our office. So that's a line by line script that we put together. The busiest time really is we call them crossover seasons, is when football is still going. So your fall sports are still going, but you're starting your winter sports. So when you have football still in season and then men's and women's basketball and swimming start. So that's pretty busy. And that happens again in the spring. And then right now, our big thing is we made the bowl game. So we are going to Charlotte and playing in the famous Toastery Bowl against Western Kentucky on Monday, the 18th. So we are selling tickets, seating people, putting together different watch parties and making sure that all those things align. We have a Bowl Central page that's on odusports.com that our office created and is maintaining. So really it's handling fans, making sure fans know everything that's going on, making sure that, they all are ready to go and know everything that's happening at that bowl game. So that's kind of the biggest one right now. And then we have a women's basketball game on the 20th, so 2 days after the bowl game, and we're hosting number 3.
Yeah, that's a big
NC State. So the third ranked team in the nation is coming to ODU to play our women's basketball team. So that's pretty exciting.
So I'm gonna read these questions, but first I want to ask you, give me a day in the life, like today. What were you doing before this, and what are you going to do when this is over?
Oh, it's a lot of meetings. Like today we met with a ticketing company. That we partner with a ticketing company, so we're talking about that partnership and expanding that, and making sure that we have some good customer service for people and fans that are trying to buy tickets. I met with our AD and his staff talking about bowl logistics and how we're handling donors and events that we're doing at the bowl game. I'm meeting with ODUSP, which is our sports properties folks after this. So we're hiring a new person in one of those roles. So we're meeting kind of internally to discuss those. And then I have an interview with a potential new hire after that meeting. So lots of meetings, but every day is very different, which is why I love athletics. So some days you're at your desk and you're answering emails. Other days you're moving boxes or setting up tailgates, and other days you're in high level meetings with the university president. So every day is a little different.
Very cool. We have a question here from Ashley Basnight from First Flight High School down in North Carolina. What does your career path look like?
Yeah.
And let's start with that. Take us through college. You were a big time college athlete yourself, major volleyball.
Yeah,
every four-time Big East champion
we
when you were at
were.
Notre Dame. So
Yeah.
you were in you were in it. So start with that and bring us up to today, your pathway.
Well, I didn't start volleyball until eighth grade, so I was a little late.
There's hope for us
Relative.
all. There's hope for us all.
But I played volleyball at the University of Notre Dame. I double majored in marketing and psychology, which I think are really great majors to pair. It definitely helps you understand what people want when you're trying to market and sell stuff to them. So I did that. I knew I wanted to go to get my master's. So I took a graduate assistant position at the University of Tennessee. Had to wait a year for that to start. So I went and worked at the University of Cincinnati just to get some work experience until that GA spot opened. Did a year at Tennessee, got my master's there in sport management. And then from there, I applied for every job on the NCAA portal and landed a job at Providence College. It was a 2-year internship. So I went there for 2 years working as an event coordinator. I put on the 2010 NCAA men's basketball
That is
championship.
super cool. I'd ask you a million questions about that. Maybe we'll get there, but go ahead.
But that school was run by a company called Nelligan Sports Marketing, who is now part of Learfield Sports Marketing. So they liked me there, and so they hired me and then moved me to my own property. So I moved down to Princeton University and worked for them for a couple of years doing sports property stuff, so selling advertising for the university. And then from there, I moved to the university side. So Princeton University actually hired me away. I did a couple of years in their varsity club, which is their development office, trying to raise money for the athletic department, and then moved over to the marketing side and did all their marketing for they have 38 varsity sports. And so that was in New Jersey. I'm from Texas originally, really wanted to get a little bit further south. I met my husband who lives in Norfolk, Virginia, so knew I wanted to come to Norfolk, and then took a job at Old Dominion University, and I've been here 6 years.
Oh wow, 6 years already. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. So you feel like for a student interested in this field, you have to be willing to move around a little bit to kind of find. And you were saying if you may even would have to keep moving even further if you wanted to ultimately be the head athletic director. Is it just the expectation that if you're in this field, you're going to be moving around?
Yeah, there's not a whole lot of growth potential unless someone leaves above you at the university because we don't have huge staffs. So really, if you want to take that next step in your career within athletics, the best thing is to go to a different university. So, you might be a director of marketing at Princeton. You want to move up. So you're going to go be an assistant AD at Old Dominion. And you'll see kind of people go back and forth. It is really hard to move up in athletics at the same university again, unless someone above you takes a new position and opens up a role.
Okay. And at Old Dominion, goes maybe about 10 years now or a little bit more. Old Dominion didn't have a football team for many years, and then they brought football back.
Yeah.
And now, how has football, does it sort of drive the bus? As everybody says, it's the biggest in terms of bringing in revenue or eyeballs. How has football impacted all the other sports that you manage?
So they say in Norfolk, what is it? Rising tide lifts all ships.
Yes.
It's really how we look at football. If we can be relevant in football and be good at football, it definitely helps raise money for the department, and then that money is evenly distributed against for all sports. So it definitely helps. We are still a basketball school. We have a history with successful basketball here at ODU. So I do think that we try to keep football and men's women's basketball kind of in that same space.
Okay.
And then we have all of our Olympic sports and baseball.
Okay. And again, please, students and teachers, continue to share your questions. I'd love to pass them on to our guest because she's really at the center of the Division I athletics program. How many Division I athletic sports does ODU have?
18.
18. Oh, so 38 at Princeton is
a lot.
That is a lot.
Yeah.
So is it any less crazy in your office as opposed to Princeton, or is it they all have their own level of crazy?
It was very crazy at Princeton because that crossover season for us at ODU, it goes from football, field hockey, volleyball, soccer, and then we add in basketball and swimming. Where at Princeton, we also added in men's and women's ice hockey. So there's just a lot more going on. So a lot more sports to cover.
One thing I've always wondered with so many teams and so many seasons is the travel.
Mm-hmm.
What is the travel organizational structure like in your office? Any team might have, you can tell me how many students are on each of these teams, but it looks like a lot of students many times, and you have to always fly them or bus them places, hotels. What is that apparatus like week over week in your office?
So we actually don't have to handle a whole lot of it. It goes directly through the teams. We are lucky enough to have an Anthony travel representative on campus that helps book all of our travel. We also are really help. It's really wonderful, and we're blessed to be in the Sun Belt Conference. So a lot of our games are busable. So we can drive. We can bus to JMU. We can bus
Right.
around to some of the schools. So that makes it a little bit easier. Norfolk also, like, the airport's awesome and easy to get out of. So
Yep.
but it's expensive, and everything, especially since COVID, has doubled in price and our budgets haven't. So that the coaches are definitely strapped to make ends meet. But yeah, it's a lot. It depends on the team. So soccer has one game a week. Volleyball has two matches a week. Basketball has two games each week. So just it really depends on the sport.
Yeah, just so many people coming and going and totally different locations each time.
Mhm.
The Old Dominion men's basketball is in Hawaii
They
right
are.
now, right? So
Yep,
I
they
mean
leave
that's
next week. Yeah.
they leave, right. They're heading there next. It's very far
Yes.
to send. I don't know, all in with coaches, trainers, players. If it's 25 people or more,
Mhm.
it just that's a huge trip. It,
Hundreds of thousands of dollars.
oh
Yep.
my gosh. Um, so we have a question here from, I want to say also, they said, hello, Portola High School, Irvine, California. Thank you for being here. And the question is, what are some of the pros and cons of the job, of the
Yeah.
profession? Let's start with the cons first, and then we'll end
Yeah.
with the pros. What are some cons you'd say?
I think that so sports is very sexy. People want to be associated with a fun organization and team. So whether that's college sports or even like professional sports, it's really cool to say, oh, I work for the Texans, or I work for Old Dominion, I work
Right.
for Notre Dame. And so because of that, you might not make as much money in sports as you would doing the same job for GE or Delta, because it's just not as fun or exciting.
Okay.
I think the other cons that we mentioned before is there are a lot of nights and weekends. You're at a lot of events. But the pros for that is you're at a lot of events. You get to go to all these games, like, and you get special access to, like, we're on the field for football games, we're in the tunnel for basketball games. So you're on the court, you're next to the action, which is really cool. It's a lot of different perks for your family and your friends. Like, you can bring your friends and family to the game. So it has a pretty cool like work-life balance where you might be at the event, but you get to have your family and friends there. So that's pretty cool.
That is nice. You don't have to be like away from everyone.
Yes.
You can include your family in your work,
Yes.
which is nice.
Yeah.
I want to pull up because I know women's basketball is one of the sports that you
Yeah.
oversee.
Oversee.
So as I look at just the latest news on their site, like what runs through your mind when you see, like, well, road game coming up, that happened. They won the
Mhm.
game at Delaware. They were number 12 in this mid-major top 25.
Yeah.
Like what runs through your mind when you see like the comings and goings of this basketball team?
I mean, I see the back end. So like that trip to Delaware, our athletic trainer had a medical emergency and wasn't able to make the trip, and we had to scramble last minute to make sure that our players were taken care of for that game.
What did you do?
We ended up calling Delaware, and their athletic trainer worked for us for the day.
Ah,
So there's lots of little things in the back end
yeah.
that
Tell us like the backstory of things that we would read on
yeah.
the front end. Like what else comes to mind?
Um,
You
so
know,
Florida Gulf Coast, that's a really great team. They beat us at Florida Gulf Coast last year. So that was a really good one for us. They had one player that was out. So that's a factor. So knowing their rosters, knowing how they are for this year.
like
Um,
the transfer portal
mhm.
craze, is it as significant with like women's basketball as it is for men? Are there just as many women jumping in the portal and saying, I want to go somewhere else? Is it the exact sort of same level of like urgency? I gotta go somewhere else.
I don't think it's as urgent. I do think that there's a lot of activity. So we do see a lot of women's basketball players enter the portal. We get a lot of transfers. I think we had one high school student this year that's on our roster that's new. But we did I think 50% of our roster is brand new. They're all transfers or incoming new students.
And help
Um,
the students understand. I don't want to speak past them here.
yeah.
Like the transfer rules have changed, right?
Yes.
So prior to, I don't know what year it went, it maybe 2 years ago,
Yeah.
it was you'd have to sit out a year at the new school you moved to, and now you can play right away. Is there
Yes.
anything else you'd add to that and sort of how that has shifted?
So they created what they call a transfer portal. So there's different windows that students are allowed to enter the portal depending on their sport. So then you have an easier for coaches, an easier access to know who wants to transfer, who's looking to transfer, which was a little difficult, probably 10 years ago. It used to be that your one transfer, you had to sit a year immediately, and now you can have a transfer immediately. So I can leave ODU and go to Georgia State and play immediately and not have to sit that year. The rules change every day. We have a compliance officer who actually her job is to monitor the NCAA and what's going before Congress, what's going before the boards. So right now, if you're coming from a 4-year school, you can transfer once with no penalty. If you transfer again, you would have to sit that year. But it's really changed the game. Like I said, I think our women's basketball team had one high school student, and the rest were transfers
So
coming.
that's what it is now. Like, how do these high school athletes get noticed or get significant scholarships if everyone's focused on that junior transfer
Yeah,
who's got 2 years under their belt at a different college? Like,
yeah.
how does it impact recruiting and the whole landscape?
It changes it all. I mean, and every day the rules change. So one of the things that they're doing now is if you bring in a transfer, the university is now on the hook for their education until they're fully done with their degree. So you're kind of not stuck, but you are stuck with that student. So if you get a transfer that doesn't gel well with your team or doesn't fit right with your team, you have to pay for the rest of their schooling. So it's not like you can take a student for 1 year and then say, all right, I don't want you anymore, and then they have to transfer again.
Even if they, like, say, left the team, just want to stay at school, you still have to
Mhm.
pay for them.
Yep. Yes. So
Okay.
it's kind of holding the coaches responsible for when they do take those transfer students. And so that rule doesn't apply to students that are not transfers. So if you're a freshman coming in and say technically you can't get cut because of athletic ability, you can only get cut if you break a team rule or something to that effect. But if they do choose to transfer, then the university is not on the hook for their education.
Okay. Okay. I didn't know
Mhm.
about that.
Yeah,
We have
new
a
rules every day.
Yeah, like you said, the compliance person just waiting for the next mandate from the
Yep.
NCAA and then having to make sure you comply. Is there a certain amount of time you have to make to comply? Because they spit it out
Yeah.
on December 12th. How long
Yes.
do you have to, like, put it into place?
Yeah, and it happens in the Title IX world too, where they have new rules. Usually you'll see them start coming up. You'll say that hey, this is an idea that they're discussing, this is going to a vote. Usually they'll give you a year or 2 years to make sure
Okay,
that you
long
get into
time.
compliance. Yeah,
Okay,
usually a year, depending on what it is.
okay. You've spoken to this a little bit, but I want to include all the students. Ramir from Clayton High School said, "What's the best part of your job?"
So I was very fortunate and had amazing coaches and teachers growing up. And I love being able to give back and making the student athlete experience here at ODU as best as it can be. So really my favorite part is my sport admin job where I get to interact with the student athletes and talk to them and help them through struggles, whether it's time management or maybe it's an injury that they're having because I've been there and I've done that. And so that's my favorite part is being able to interact with them and hopefully make their college experience better.
Give me an example. You don't have to name names, but give
Yeah.
me an example of a student that you recently helped in that way.
I think like especially with the volleyball, I oversee volleyball and I played volleyball. So to be able to sit down with some of those student athletes and say they're having a bad practice or a bad week or a bad games, they can come in here and say, like, what do you think is going on? And I can talk to them about their game. I can talk to them about, how are you balancing your time? When should you be focusing on different things? So it's fun to be able to learn more about the sport and talk a little bit of strategy, but also just mostly it's like time management and study skills.
The NCAA has run an ad for a long time that says, the majority of our athletes will go professional in something other than sports, right?
Yes.
And that's true. The professional football players, baseball players, basketball, only a handful are going to go there and stay at that level for long enough to make a career out of it, and everybody else got to go get a job.
Mm-hmm.
So, what role do you play in helping position them for after college? If they want to work in sports like you did or
Yeah.
go something else entirely, like, what does that conversation look like?
So our department offers a lot of internships, and the university, Old Dominion, is really big on real world experience. So a lot of the different majors, you have to do some type of internship, usually a 400-hour internship to finish your degree. And so our office has a lot of student workers in and out of it, trying to teach them what the world of marketing looks like in sports. What does it look to do graphic design? What does it look like to do video streams? So we do offer a bunch of internships here for students and student athletes so they can get a taste of what it feels and looks like to work in athletics and athletic department.
That also makes me ask, because these many of these students are in high school. So if a high school student wanted to be involved in your office, what's available? Just hypothetically, they don't live in Norfolk, but
Yeah.
what could they do?
So a lot of the times we have high school students that'll come and intern for us over the summer. We don't, the summer is very different. It's not a normal time of year, but we do have a lot of grassroots marketing where we'll go out and we'll table and get information out into the hands of the community when it comes to like football season tickets or things that we're doing within the department. So we do accept some high school interns during the summer. And then we do have some interns that will come work for us over the Christmas break. So if you're from Virginia, you're back home from college or a school, then you can come and kind of shadow us for a couple games.
And how would you recommend a student approach your office? Should they like walk in with their resume, like looking to talk to somebody? Like how would you want them to approach you or your office?
Well, like I said, every day is so different. So if you walk in my office with a resume, the odds of you catching me are slim to none. So I would definitely recommend emailing. Email,
Emailing.
give us your information, your name, what you're doing, what you're wanting to do. A lot of people are like, I want to intern. Well, what do you want to get out of it? Like, what do you want to learn? What do you want to study? What are you trying to achieve so that way we can better place you? Because it might not be marketing, it might be facilities, or it might be communications, or it might be compliance. And so there's always opportunities in those different areas, and I can help you get to those areas. I just have to know what you want to do. So emailing, attaching your resume, explaining like, hey, I'm in town for these weeks, or I would love to do something over the summer. Can I come in? And so we love for people to come in afterwards once they're scheduled and meet with them and talk to them.
And let's talk for a second about that email, because that's a big part of our company. If they send you an email, do you need it to look a certain way? Does it have to have a subject line? Does it have to greet you appropriately, spelling, a punctuation? Like what do you need to see in that message?
Yeah.
Or if it was poorly written, would it throw you off?
So we struggle with this even with college students, where I get forwarded emails. We joke, there was one person who she wanted an internship at a college, and she emailed Norfolk State, and then she forwarded that email to Christopher Newport, and then she forwarded that email to ODU. And so on my end, through my computer, I can see every forward. Probably the way that she was doing on her phone, she probably couldn't see it. And so there's things that you probably want to pull out your laptop, pull out a computer, make sure that you're doing it properly. Um, I do think that if you're formal, if you're spelling correctly, if you're using correct sentences, we're going to take you a little bit more seriously, because we think that you are serious about what this position is, and it's not something that you're just throwing an email out and you see what you catch. So I do think it's very, very important, especially if it's a cold call and we don't know who you are, to get that initial response.
I think that's important to hear. And look, Old Dominion is a Division I athletics program. You're playing in bowl games, playing in the NCAA tournaments. Like this, you could come in a lot lower, right? There are a lot of other schools, D2, D3, where you may end up, to just come right to your office. You have to have your stuff together, right? Because this is like the big leagues of college sports.
Yeah.
Not to say that you should be sloppy with a Division III application,
Well,
but the point is this is a high level organization. You
yes.
guys are doing a lot on a national stage.
And shadowing, it's a lot of work for our office. We have a very small office. We're short staffed, and to have students in here, we want to be able to give them the time, the energy, and it is a lot of teaching and explaining. And so we want to make sure that they're equally invested in the process as we will be when they get here.
A couple other questions. Avery Waldschmidt from Clayton High School. Thank you. Avery and Brianna. Sorry, they asked it together.
Okay.
Why did you want to become to work in an athletic department? Why?
I love sports. I loved being part of the team. I love like the competition. I love being around the games. But kind of what I said earlier is I've been very blessed to have amazing coaches in my past, and so I really wanted to be involved and to
Pay
get
it
back to student
forward
athlete. Yeah.
like that. Lori Epic asks, for a resume, do you like to see a picture of the applicant doing a sport or even a headshot, or does that matter at all?
Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter.
When you look at the resume, where does your eye go?
I
What do
go
you
to the
look at?
experience. I want to know what they've done. I want to know what field they're in. So I don't care what you look like. I want to know kind of what your past is and what you want to get out of it. Yeah.
I like that. I like that. Let me I want to share the little news and notes that I did from the beginning. And as I do that, I want to ask the students and teachers, ask any remaining questions that you have in the Q&A, please. And I'll get to that in just a couple of minutes. Let me just run back through this. As I said at the beginning, if you missed it, we have a free Google Drive folder of job interview resources, some of which would dovetail right into what we were just talking about. If you come into Carolyn's office and you want a summer internship, you need to come with questions and write that great thank you note, and we take you through all of those steps. So if you'd like these resources, please go to the chat, type the word interested and your email address. This is for the teachers, interested and your email address. And if you're new to us, we will send you a calendar invite to chat for just a minute so we can pass the information along. So that's, again, feel free to comment in the chat with interested if you'd like it. You'll also get a certificate for being here with us today. Look for that in your email tomorrow. It's everybody who's joining us live. And finally, one more reminder that we will be launching our America's Next Great Intern contest for the second year, and it'll kick off in January, and then the submission period is February. But we're excited to see what your students can do this year to show us all of their communication skills. And I'm sure Carolyn would appreciate a student who can answer the phone confidently, right? Or email somebody back under ODU's banner, right? And not feel like, who's this person that just wrote me? You're like, oh, that's our intern. Oh, I'm sorry, I'll have to talk to them. But just knowing they can do the job,
Yes.
right, would probably give you a lot less stress.
Well, and the trust is really important because you're representing my office, you're representing me. And so making sure that I can trust to send you to a meeting or trust to have you respond to emails is super important. But I will say the writing of thank you note.
Oh, like, what's that there?
Huge. Like no one does it anymore, and it's really cool. And I definitely think that like I save them.
And you save them, right? You don't throw them out.
I don't throw them out.
Nope.
It's really cool.
And they're right at your desk, right? Because they're so rare. You never want to throw them away.
Yeah. So I highly recommend that even if you do like an informational interview or you do an informational Zoom, a handwritten note is really, really like icing on the cake, really cool to get.
Love that. I'll end with one more question, which it's anonymous, but if it was you, please let me know in the chat. What was the most memorable moment of your career so far? It could be from Princeton, it could be from Old Dominion, but is there one moment, one event, one situation that really stands out to you?
So coming to ODU, we did not have a volleyball team. And we added volleyball since I've been here. So I was able to be part of that process and actually hiring our first volleyball coach. And then we did a lot of renovation to the old gym. So that was pretty cool. Like you get to be part of the hiring process, you get to be part of facilities. So that's pretty cool. And the same thing with football. We redid the full football stadium. So to be able to be in all that work and then see the behind the scene and then actually have that first game is pretty cool.
That's a good one. We'll wrap on that. Thank you, Carolyn. I'll let you get a sip of your drink here. Thank you so much for meeting with us. I'm sure you're off to like 3 simultaneous meetings as soon as this Zoom concludes. Got a million things to do, and I just am really grateful you pulled some time away to talk with us. Can we have some Zoom hands up to say thank you to Carolyn for her time? Oh, thank you. People can email you if they have questions?
If you have any questions or want anything, I put my name and my email in the chat. So
amazing access through these webinars to these professionals doing the work on a high level. So I will be thinking about Old Dominion sports differently and all sports differently moving forward. So thank you. I hope everybody has a happy holidays. Again, look out for information about our intern contest. The webinars will also return in the spring semester, so we'll keep putting it out over email. But we hope you have a great holiday, a happy new year, and we will see you in 2024. Thank you, Carolyn.
Have a good one.